Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving straight into the highly anticipated new release from Brad Thor, Edge of Honor, which just hit shelves.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into Brad Thor's latest, Edge of Honor. It's his, 24th Scott Harvath novel, a New York Times bestseller, of course.
That's right, the 24th.
And we've got a great collection of sources here, articles, your notes, some research, and our job really is to unpack it all, figure out what makes this book feel so pivotal right now.
Yeah, and what's always fascinating with Thor is his dedicated fan base. They have, certain expectations, big action, Harvath being Harvath.
Right.
But Edge of Honor, it seems to tackle this challenge of delivering something fresh while staying true. And the big twist here, the real hook, seems to be this shift in the kind of enemy he's up against.
Okay, so let's get right into that. The narrative kicks off pretty dramatically. Harvath just back from a 6-month honeymoon with Sylvie Kolstad. She's the former Norwegian intelligence operative, right?
Correct.
And he finds the U.S. is, profoundly changed. There's this bombing near the vice president's home. It's like an immediate wake-up call.
A jarring one. And this isn't your typical foreign threat that Harvath usually tackles. The sources describe the core conflict as revolving around a cabal of shadowy elites.
Shadowy elites? Like who?
Well, they're described almost as all-powerful Elon Musk types, people pulling strings, aiming for, national and global domination.
Okay, so less international spies, more domestic conspiracy.
Exactly. It's framed as a very Ludlum-like conspiracy. Think less battlefields, more boardrooms and cyberspace. It taps into that very contemporary fear about powerful, unaccountable figures.
And that must create a huge problem for Harvath. His usual methods, military force, direct action, they might not work here.
Precisely. The sources say he needs a different kind of firepower. And what's really complex, morally speaking, is that some members of this cabal, they're the kind of people Harvath might have worked for in the past.
Wow, okay. That definitely adds layers. How does he even operate then?
Well, that connects to his current status, remember? He resigned from the Carlton Group.
Right. So he's independent now.
Which gives him more freedom. The sources mention this allows for a wider range of dynamic storylines. He's not tied to official channels. He's calling in old debts and new favors, operating more off the grid.
Makes sense. He needs that flexibility for this kind of enemy. So Harvath himself, the classic patriotic hero, always sticks to his guns. How does he change in this new landscape?
It seems like a subtle evolution. He's described as maybe less gung-ho, a bit more circumspect, still dealing with fallout from previous books, apparently.
Still reeling a bit.
Yep. Don't worry. His lethal operative instincts kick right back in when needed. It adds depth, without changing his core character. He's maybe a bit more world-weary, but just as deadly.
And what about Sylvie, his wife? She's not just on the sidelines, I gather.
Not at all. Her background in Norwegian intelligence makes her instantly valuable. A real partner.
Okay.
And there's this interesting detail. She gets called back into service for the Norwegian prime minister, which hints that maybe this domestic threat isn't purely domestic after all, could have wider international ripples.
Interesting. So even with a U.S.-focused plot, there are global stakes.
It seems so.
Yeah.
And that ties into the main themes. You've got this intricate political maneuvering, a power struggle with these incredibly powerful, almost untouchable figures.
Right. And the title, Edge of Honor.
It speaks volumes, doesn't it? It's about Harvath's moral compass, his sense of duty, especially when the betrayal comes from within. He's on a precipice, questioning loyalty and patriotism.
Yeah, and that really seems to be resonating. The reviews you shared consistently praise the book's timeliness. Phrases like, torn right from tomorrow's headlines, and mining the best current events have to offer. One source even said it feels a tad too real for comfort. That sense of immediate relevance seems key.
Absolutely. And Thor's style is still there, the razor-sharp plotting, descriptions that are concise and impactful, getting right to the heart of it without getting lost in jargon.
Still a non-stop thrill ride.
Oh, yeah. Promises a blistering climax. But what's notable is how critics are comparing it to Robert Ludlum again.
Ludlum, like Bourne-level intrigue.
Exactly. It suggests this sophisticated mix of, intellectual puzzles and high-octane action, elevating it within the genre. Maybe even a return to form in blending the smarts with the thrills.
Okay, so wrapping this up, Edge of Honor sounds like a really potent entry in the series. It confirms Thor's place as a major player, a titan in the field, as one source put it.
Definitely.
Its power comes from that gripping domestic plot, the character depth, and how chillingly relevant it feels to anxieties about power today.
Right, and it leaves you thinking. If the real fight has moved to boardrooms in cyberspace, like the sources suggest, and the enemies are people who were once insiders, what does that actually mean for patriotism? For honor, how do we even define those things now? What part of this whole shift strikes you as the most significant takeaway from our dive today?